Love, love, good day to you. Pray all is well. P-R-E-Y. Honoramus matris nostris. Fiduciary law is it. So I'm just chilling on YouTube. A conversation. Fiduciary responsibility to American Indian. Right? So I was, seeing what comes up. Right? John McCain upholding the trust. Right? National Congress of American Indians. NCAI. So I figured we could watch it together. I ain't gonna hold you for too long. But I just want to hear what he's talking about. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Allen. Thank all of you for being here, and be sure, those of you who are from outside of Arizona, please spend as much money as you can while you are here. We're very grateful. We take all plastic, and so thank you all for being here. And I want to say a special welcome to our veterans. There are so many members of the military that I encounter all the time who are Native Americans, and sometimes we don't appreciate and understand the service and sacrifice of those men and women. And I just ran into a couple of my old Vietnam veterans who are still around, and I'm one of those pilots that whose number of landings don't match the number of takeoffs, but other than that, I was proud to have served. I'm grateful that you are here. I'd just like to mention while I'm here a bit of nostalgia that it was a long time ago that Senator Dan Inouye and I worked together for over a year and came up with and passed through the United States Congress and signed by the President the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, which, as you know, was a product of the Cabazon decision of the United States Supreme Court. I believe that piece of legislation allowed for the growth of tribal economies in a most extraordinary fashion, and I still remain very proud, not only of that legislation, but the way that it's been implemented by the tribes who have engaged in Indian gaming, including those here in Arizona. And I'm proud to be with NCAI. It continues to be a vehicle for empowering Indian leaders from around the country to advocate safeguarding the government-to-government relationship between your sovereign nations and the United States government. And if you'll indulge me, I'd like to acknowledge several tribal leaders who are participating in this week's conference, including Navajo Nation President Russell Begay, Navajo Council Speaker Lorenzo Bates, Governor Lewis from the Gila River Indian Community, Chairman Honani from the Hopi Tribe, Delbert Ray, the President of the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community, and Chairman Ronnie Lupi, my old Marine friend from the White Mountain Apache Tribe. These men are the most dynamic and dedicated leaders in Indian country, and I'm deeply grateful for their counsel and wisdom over the years. I'm here today in support of advancements in tribal sovereignty, Indian self-determination, and self-governance. Over the years, we've made incredible strides, empowering tribes with greater control over Indian healthcare, law enforcement, housing, and other important public services, but a great deal of work remains ahead of us. As you know, federal trust responsibility towards Native Americans is based on solemn treaty obligations. It must not take a backseat to partisan politics
Native
or
Americans
crushed under the weight of federal regulations.
at the American Indian National Congress of American Indians.
Ago, Congress took on for itself the philosophy that Native Americans can become independent of federal control without being cut off from federal concern and federal support. My dear and beloved friend Morris Udall devoted his career to this effort. Barry Goldwater tried as well. Dananoe tribe, then Night Horse Campbell tribe. I continue to try. But I'm taking it back. I'm not satisfied with our progress. I am inspired when I see tribal institutions growing stronger and taking back control of Indian country. If Washington is to fulfill its solemn trust responsibility, we must listen more to you and get out of the way of tribal authority. Throughout the history of the United States, the government knows best approach has brought tragedy to Native Americans. For example, the recent Gold King mine disaster, where the United States Environmental Protection Agency flushed 3 million gallons of toxic wastewater through the Animas and San Juan River. Hundreds of Navajo farmers in Shiprock, New Mexico were devastated by contaminated water and soil. By some estimates, the nation sustained over $300 million in economic damage due to the loss of their harvest.
Ooh.
As many of you know, the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs, of which I'm a member, held hearings immediately following the spill. We learned that the EPA waited nearly 6 days to formally notify the Navajo Nation of the disaster. Is that acceptable in America today, my dear friends?
Nope.
Absolutely not. It took the committee issuing a
John
subpoena
McCain.
of EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy, the first such subpoena in 10 years.
This is John McCain upholding the trust responsibility to tribal nations. Okay, this is on YouTube. I'm at National Congress of American Indians. Love to you, credit. Love to you, credit. This is U.S. Senator John McCain upholding the trust responsibility to tribal nations. Right? Check out Clearly Credit, you heard. I don't know the pronunciation of the nation, but he got the nation going on. You know what I'm saying? And age you in different degrees of legal situations and so forth. Check him out. But right now I'm just, I'm on my American Indian conversation, right? So I'm looking at, I put in the fiduciary responsibility to American Indians in YouTube, and this pops up. So John McCain's been talking. It's about 15 minutes. He's been talking for 5 minutes about, how the Native American, right? Instead of, but how the Native American has been, harmed by the United States, tricked in these things and so forth. So I'm not going to be long with you. I'm just watching it. Again, trust responsibility to tribal nations. This is National Congress of American Indian. This is where he's at saying this, at their Congress.
To compel the EPA to send a witness to testify about the agency's actions. Even now, the EPA has failed to address the damage it inflicted on the Navajo. While the U.S. Department of Justice agreed with me and opened a criminal investigation into EPA's actions just yesterday, we learned from the EPA's Inspector General that he is recommending that no one be prosecuted for this avoidable catastrophe. Shameful. I continue to believe that the EPA's actions at the Gold King mine violated, among other federal environmental statutes, the Clean Water Act and the Endangered Species Act. And I refuse to accept the conclusion offered by the fox guarding the hen house that no one is legally liable for this disaster, the largest of its kind since the Deepwater Horizon spill in the Gulf of Mexico. The protection and wise use of our precious water supplies is a priority that I share with Indian country. My home state of Arizona faces cutbacks by the Department of Interior in our Colorado River water deliveries as early as 2018. So the role that tribal leaders play in shaping our water future are key to averting Interior's shotgun approach to drought restrictions. With this in mind,
so the role tribal leaders play in the water that they have, right? This is 9 years ago. I'm just saying to get into the mix. That's all I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, getting into the mix. You know, I'm listening to them. I'm listening to him as he talks about the fiduciary obligation, that conversation and that language of it. The trust responsibility to tribal nations. He's going for 15 minutes. He's 6 minutes in now. He's almost on 7. And he's saying the EPA, is causing harm.
It's crucial we complete our remaining Indian water claim settlements in Arizona. One of the largest unfinished water settlements in the nation are the Navajo and Hopi claims to the Little Colorado River. Both tribes are entitled to compensation for the water that flows down the river into the Central Arizona Project and into the metropolitan cities of Phoenix and Tucson. The federal government could do some good by settling those claims through Congress and in exchange fund and construct a tribally owned and operated drinking water infrastructure project. Currently, 40% of Navajos living on the reservation do not have regular access to drinking water and in many cases must haul their water by truck many miles to their homes. This must change. And I'm committed to advancing a Navajo-Hopi water settlement bill once both tribes signal they have completed their settlement negotiations.
All right now, you see?
I'm pleased that this year's Water Resources Development Act includes 2 provisions I believe will be immediately helpful to Indian tribes. First, we're expanding tribal access to federal grants under the Safe Drinking Water Act to let tribal governments hire, train, and certify Native American wastewater treatment technicians. Second, the bill provides an amendment that Senator Flake and I authored that would expedite federal permits for removing salt cedar trees in project areas up to 500 acres. As many of you know, salt cedar is an invasive tree species that can consume up to 200 gallons of water per day per tree. Many tribes, including Arizona, including the Yavapai Apache Nation in the Verde Valley, are working to eradicate the cedar. My friends, speaking as an Arizonan, fire and water are our issues. Water settlements must be completed. We have to remove this invasive species, and we have to make some tough decisions. Another goal we share is ending the misguided attempts by the National Labor Relations Board to assert its control over tribal operated businesses.
All right now.
This is one of the most egregious examples
10 minutes in.
knows best in Indian country today.
John McCain, 10 minutes in. Indian country.
Unelected members of the NLRB announced that they would reverse 70 years of federal Indian policy and impose federal collective bargaining rules on Indian tribes. It's an obvious play to usurp tribal labor policies, especially in right-to-work states like Arizona. Nowhere in the United States are federal and state entities required to impose NLRB rules on their workers. Why should tribal labor policies be treated any differently? This is forced subjugation, the opposite of tribal sovereignty, and I promise you I will fight it and fight it and fight it. Finally, I'd like to mention one final issue, the issue of education on Indian reservations. Everyone here knows, that the Bureau of Indian Education is in crisis and has been the case for many, many years. Reports show that nearly 50% of students attending a BIE school will not graduate from high school. That's shameful. The test scores of BIE students trail by double digits compared to their Native American peers who attend off-reservation public schools. A A recent investigation by the Independent Government Accountability Office revealed that some BIE schools haven't been inspected for safety in almost 10 years. 10 years. Yet the BIE school system is one of the most expensive systems in the nation, spending an estimated $15,000 per pupil per year. These facts are disgraceful, and we in Washington are to blame. I note with encouragement that the U.S. Department of the Interior announced last month that it will allow tribes to establish their own standardized tests. This is necessary for rural tribes with large reservation land bases that stretch across multiple state jurisdictions. This is necessary. Tribal autonomy is important on the issue of education reform. And while many of us in Congress agree wholeheartedly that BIE facilities should receive all the funding they need to provide students with a safe learning environment, we must also acknowledge that throwing more taxpayer dollars at a broken system without reforms is not the solution to our abysmal test scores or declining teacher retention. I've met with a number of tribal members on this issue, perhaps most notably former State Senator Carlisle Begay, who himself was raised and educated on the Navajo Nation. Carlisle's story has inspired me. In the Arizona Senate, Carlisle worked tirelessly with Governor Doug Ducey to expand school choice option for Native American students. His work led me to introduce a bill in Congress, the Native American Education Opportunity Act, which would provide grants to Native American parents who wish to remove their child from a failing BIE school and empower them to enroll in a charter or private school of their choosing. There are remarkable private and charter schools on Indian reservations today, like the St. Michael's School and the Star School up on the Navajo Reservation. These schools offer test scores and graduation rates that are light years beyond most BIE schools. Competition and choice is a pathway to expanding access to education in Indian country. It's an option we must look at if we ever want to be serious about addressing domestic violence and drug abuse plaguing many Native Indian reservations in my state and across the nation. I hope you will support me and consider supporting me in this goal. Friends, despite these challenges, I continue to believe we're making progress on the issues important to you. I'm proud of the remarkable changes that you have made in Indian country, and I look forward to continuing to help you shape the future of your tribes. One of the great honors of my life has been to represent you and our Native American tribes in
our Native American tribes
of our state in the Senate of the United States of America. And I would urge all of you to make sure that in these turbulent political times, in these unknowable times, except of course we're going to make America great again and it's going to be huge.
Right.
That I urge you to exercise your sovereign right of choosing our elected leaders and making sure that every single member of your tribe gets out to vote on November the 8th. Thank you and God bless.
Senator, we got a little gift together.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Love to you.
Senator
McCain,
on behalf of NCAI, this
National
was
Congress
made by
American Indian.
your youth in this great state of Arizona. They're the Morning Star Leaders Youth Council. And on behalf of
That's
them,
it.
and I just also want to recognize the veterans. I want them to stand at this time with your brother warrior up here. And
Yeah, I ain't talking about too much.
Senator.
Except for the
American.
Marines, you can sit down. Marines.
We're not going to get into that right now. But I just want you to know, Senator, just like our warriors out there,
McCain.
they are heroes. And to you, for your service to your country, for the years in Congress and the Senate, you are a hero, and we appreciate your sacrifice and your dedication that you have committed to the United States of America. You are a hero, my friend. You are a hero. 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 You are a
Yeah. All right. Well, that's that. Mm-hmm. No. See that one. I'll show you that one. Yeah. I mean, right? And, well, let me say this to you, though, right? Because I really don't have, like, a whole bunch to trick you with, a whole bunch to, throw you off to in these conversations. I've sent you the links, and you hitting the follow button. I offer Kiagu's Purest Fiduciary Services, right? 2.5 hour bill, $30 to $50 on the scale, to talk about consultations. I offer those builds. Now, here you go. Look, just see how they're talking about it. See what they're saying about it. From me, we're the owners, we're the creditors. Seminole Tribe secured $832 million verdict. Right, so love to you. Oh, I'm doing the wrong one. I'm going to take you to fiduciary duty napkin finance. And again, you're the creditor, the owner, governing with fiduciary law. I'm at you like this. Look, you're the owner who is in every contract and business arrangement known as the creditor. You know what I'm saying? Now govern everything by fiduciary law.
Life is more legal than you think, and LegalZoom is here to help. Whether
More
it's
legal.
registering a business, starting a will or trust,
Paper.
or staying on top of your business life.
All these documents to hinder yourself with. That's what they want you to do. Docu yourself.
Fiduciary
to death.
duty. When someone
And
has a
indeed, she
fiduciary
should
duty,
keep a record.
it means they have an obligation to act in someone else's best interest. A fiduciary has to meet high standards in fulfilling their duties.
See?
Fiduciaries must act with good faith, care, and loyalty when carrying out their duties. Some real-life examples of people with fiduciary duties include an attorney who owes a duty to their client, a director who has a fiduciary duty to shareholders, a trustee who has an obligation to the trust's beneficiary, a guardian who must act in the best interest of their ward, an investment advisor who has a fiduciary duty to their client. What happens if a fiduciary duty is breached? That could mean that the fiduciary may be sued or could lose their professional credentials. If a fiduciary engaged in criminal activity, the consequences could even include going to prison.
There you go. Let's get them to prison. That's what I say. You ready? You're the owner. You're the creditor. They like to mask you as principal, consumer. You know you're the owner. You know you're the creditor. You're in a fiduciary relationship. You know that over here. You know that. I'm showing it to you. So now I press you to govern the fiduciary.
Fiduciary duty.
They have
When
the
someone
duty.
has a fiduciary duty, it means they have an obligation to act in someone else's best interest. A fiduciary has to meet high standards in fulfilling their duties. Fiduciaries must act with
I
good
appreciate
faith,
you.
care, and loyalty when carrying out their duties. Some real-life examples of people with fiduciary duties include an attorney who owes a duty to their
I
client,
appreciate you,
a director
peaceful
who has a
warrior.
fiduciary duty to shareholders, a trustee who has an obligation to the trust's beneficiary, a guardian who must act in the best interest of their ward, an investment advisor who has a fiduciary duty to their client.
I mean, all of that. Must act with good faith, care, loyalty. Examples include an attorney, director, trustee, guardian, investment advisor. All owe duty to the what? Customer. Huh? I could say customer to you. How about that? All owe fiduciary duty to the customer. Huh? Owner, creditor. That's where that's what it lawfully is. But in their examples, they make consumers look bad, but the customer is neutral. Yeah, so I'm gonna be too long with you. Here we go.
What happens if a fiduciary duty is breached? That could mean that the fiduciary may be sued or could lose their professional credentials.
That's right.
If a fiduciary engaged in criminal activity, the consequences could even include going to prison.
Going to prison. For harming the creditor, huh? They must act with good faith, huh? loyalty, care, not act with bad faith, good faith. So now you got to comprehend that you're the authority, and every, transaction you get into, you're dealing with a seller that has a fiduciary obligation to you. And it's necessary for you to use the fiduciary language to impose fiduciary law. Period. File a lawsuit. Yeah. I'm throwing it at you. You're the authority. I'm throwing it at you, though. Look at that. So indeed, send them to prison. Take that tired energy you got to send them to prison. You heard? Take that tired energy you have and send them to prison. You hear me? You're so tired. You hear me talking to you? You're so tired. Send them to prison. Take that tired energy you got and send them to prison because they breach what? Loyalty. You hear me? You hear me? Yeah, I gotta go get some. Replenish. Yeah. Take that tired energy you have and send them to prison. You hear me saying it to you? You hear how I'm saying it to you? You so tired. You tired of it. You so tired of it. Take that tired energy you have and send them to prison for breaching loyalty. Love to you, Cindy. Take that tired energy you have and send them to prison. You hear me? You tired of it? You sick and tired? You so tired? You sick and tired? That's right. Take that tired energy you have and send them to prison for the breach of loyalty. For breaching loyalty as a fiduciary. That's right. You know the phrasing. You know the phrasing. That's energy of progress. Send them to prison now. That's right. This is knack and finance. Fiduciary duty. Appreciate the fires. and they're just employed at the place. You feel me? You know what I mean? The loyalty is to the customer. You hear me saying it to you? So now they, this makes them culpable. This makes them liable. And see, you coming in, you're already talking fiduciary law because you're calling them a fiduciary. So now, the moment, boom, you know what I mean? That's what I got for you, though. Send them to, jail for breaching good faith, care, and loyalty. Those are examples of the fiduciary duties owed. Some examples. And see, what they're hoping is that you'll be ignorant enough that you won't even know these examples, and they'll tell you what they are so they can govern you, so they can molest you. That's the move. That's the play anyway. Excuse me, I'm chewing and talking, part of my repeat. But that's a play. You don't even know that the loyalty and care is due to you. The good faith is due to you. Have you settling for what you don't deserve? Mm-hmm. That's it. I got much to show you. This is Napkin Finance on YouTube, Fiduciary Duty. I'm paused here. It's almost over. It's a minute. I'm paused at what if breached. So what if it's a breach of fiduciary duty? They breached the loyalty. They breached the care. They breached the good faith. That's it. I'm finished though, for real, but I'm going to go back to it. Napkin Finance, Fiduciary Duty. Here you go.
Fiduciary duty. When someone has a fiduciary duty, it means they have an obligation to act in someone else's best interest. A fiduciary has to meet high standards in fulfilling their duties. Fiduciaries must act with good faith, care, and loyalty when carrying out their duties. Some real-life examples.
Right.
High standards in fulfilling their duties. Fiduciaries must act with good faith, care, and loyalty when carrying out their duties.
See that? Okay. See? That's it. You get what I'm saying to you? Now, my press at you is you have to enforce your authority upon the fiduciary. And you're dealing with rank and file who are being, in that respect to that. You're dealing with individuals who are being treated to not even know their own moral rectitude. That they're being partaked into moral turpitude. That's what's going on in these conversations with you. So I sit here talking to you about fiduciary duty. Fiduciary law is designed to protect the party who gives fiduciary party power. You. I tell you to read the Comptroller's Handbook so you know how to handle your corporation. I tell you to read the Comptroller's Handbook so you know how to handle your corporation. That's what I'm telling you. They must act with good faith, care, loyalty. Use the word fiduciary. I'm on you about it. I'm not doing too much more. All right, 15 minutes. This is Napkin Finance, Fiduciary Duty. It's on YouTube.
Some real-life examples of people with fiduciary duties include an attorney who owes a duty to their client, a director who has a fiduciary duty to shareholders, a trustee who has an obligation.
And the principal is just one person, right? Yeah, one man or woman. While the fiduciary can be a series of individuals, can they? The attorney could have a director and a trustee working for them for the client or the shareholder, the owner, the creditor. That's where I talk to you. The owner, the creditor. That's what it should say. Fiduciary owes a duty to the owner. And then every other title is creditor. Everywhere else is creditor. Attorney, creditor. Director, creditor. Trustee, creditor. You know what I'm saying? You over here now, you getting the fiduciary conversation from over here. I'm on my square with you. Listen, whatever you was gonna give old boy and old girl, cut it in half and send it to my mom's Cash App. Now, go through your links. You sitting here, I'm talking to you about fiduciary law. You're the owner. Look, in the red, it should read owner in red, and then everything else on this side just be creditor. And it stays over here. This is fine. This is fine. Because that's the truth. I'm just talking to you. I'm enforcing your authority. I'm pushing you into power. Come on, I send you the links. You hit the follow button. I send you the messages. Come on. I'm talking to you about it. Go through the messages I sent you. Go through the messages I send you. I send you the messages. You hit the follow button, I send them to you. If they're not there, then, speak up in the message. But I'm sitting here right with you, though. The red should read owner, right? That shouldn't even be principal. You hear me? That should be owner. And every other title here should be creditor. That's it. Owner, creditor. That's it. Then over here, fiduciary. That's correct. The left side is correct. The right side should change owner and creditor. Because that's all it is. Well, look, I'm going to let this finish. Again, napkin finance, fiduciary duty. Napkin finance, fiduciary duty.
To the trust's beneficiary, a guardian, who must act in the best interest of their ward, an investment advisor, who has a fiduciary duty to their client. What happens if a fiduciary duty is breached? That could mean that the fiduciary may be sued or could lose their professional credentials. If a fiduciary engaged in criminal activity, the consequences could even include going to prison.
Yeah, I'm going to play it back, though. I messed with it. It's a minute and 10.
Fiduciary duty. When someone has a fiduciary duty, it means they have an obligation to act in someone else's best interest. A fiduciary has to meet high standards in fulfilling their duties. Fiduciaries must act with good faith, care, and loyalty when carrying out their duty.
And that's why it's important for you to say the word. Because you set the tone by calling them a fiduciary. This is my conversation with you. Just like they want to call you this and that. They want to call you nigga. They want to call you black. They want to call you consumer. They want to call you buyer. You hear me talking money to you. They want to call you consumer. They want to call you buyer. They want to call themselves creditor. You hear me? You're the owner in the relationship. I send you the links. You hit the follow button. I send you the links.
Some real-life examples of people with fiduciary duties include an attorney who owes a duty to their client, a director who has a fiduciary duty to shareholders, a trustee who has an obligation to the trust's beneficiary, a guardian who must act in the best interest of their ward, an investment advisor who has a fiduciary duty to their client.
See that?
What happens if a fiduciary duty is breached? That could mean that the fiduciary may be sued or could lose their professional credentials. If a fiduciary engaged in criminal activity, the consequences could even include going to prison.
You gotta sue them. They're suing you and taking you to prison. They're suing you and taking you to prison. Breach of fiduciary duty. It's a breach of loyalty to create fictitious, to make a sham legal process. Trustee, public service is a public trust.
Examples of people with fiduciary duties include an attorney who owes a duty to their client, a director who has a fiduciary duty to shareholders, a trustee who has an obligation to the trust's beneficiary, a guardian who must act in the best interest of their ward, an investment advisor who has a fiduciary duty to their client.
Right. So no matter what title, right? Yeah, all right. You see me? No matter what title, that fiduciary holds. It's loyalty, care, good faith. Examples. I'm on you to use the word. Now, you're casting your ownership, you're casting your empowerment upon the agent to govern them. Call them a fiduciary. Fiduciary, what's your name? Oh, okay, you're an attorney. You're a lawyer. You know, you're a construction worker. It's just really that degree of, and to say it, okay, within the realm of the said court, where you're creating these instruments, they're trying to make court in everything. You understand? They're trying to have the courtroom in every transaction. Are you seeing that? So I'm on you, because you're the authority. Period. They owe you the duty. The attorney owes a duty. The director owes a duty. The trustee owes a duty. The guardian owes a duty. The investment advisor owes a duty. Excuse me. And I'm not saying anything crazy to you, though. I'm coming to you with YouTube. Code of Federal Regulations. I'm coming to you with United States FDIC. I'm coming to you with FTC. Come on. I'm promoting fiduciary law. I'm on my square with you right now. I'm promoting fiduciary law to you. What? Again, whatever you was going to give old boy, cut it in half and drop it in my mother's Cash App. And make sure you go to the links in the bio as well. I got links in the bio for you. Those are the original, or just say the silver bullets. Let me say it like that. Go to the, I got workshop material that I send to you. And I got the silver bullets in the bio. I'm talking to you about this. You enforcing your authority. This should read owner, and the rest read creditor. Owes a duty to the creditor. Director owes a duty to the creditor. The trustee owes a duty to the creditor. The guardian owes a duty to the creditor. The investment advisor owes a duty to the creditor. And the duty of what? Good faith, care, loyalty, must act with. Come on. You see me on you. I'm on you to use the word. Now call them the fiduciary. You as a fiduciary in your attorney capacity owe the duty of loyalty. That means you must disclose to me what's happening, what's not going on, what is happening. You taking it upon yourself to be this individual within, this act and capacity within this act. So, yeah. I got 3 minutes. Yeah, you see what I'm showing you. That's it right there. Your contract and business arrangement is between a creditor and a seller. So all of these are seller positions. This is the creditor titles. Right? Owner, fiduciary. Owner, fiduciary, seller, creditor. And really I like to say debtor, seller, debtor. Seller, debtor. You hear me? Seller or debtor, right? That's really it, right? You say or. Right? Seller or. It can be one or the other. So the attorney can be a seller or a debtor. You know what I mean? Right? They got fiduciary obligation to the creditor. Seller or debtor. Creditor. Seller or debtor. Creditor. Seller or debtor. Creditor. Seller or debtor. Creditor. Excuse me. So, that's what I'm talking about over here, you heard? And it, that's it. So call them the fiduciary, press for your ultimate benefit. What is this offering me? And get all of the benefit from it. They owe you the duty of. Look at it. Period. You're going to have to be magical and, listen and assert yourself in these things. You're the authority. There's no way around it. That's not a joke. Yep. You hear me? You hear me? So, like I said earlier, you should be looking at your contracts the contracts you're in, the business arrangements you're in, but you're crediting. You're the creditor. You see how I'm talking to you about it? Owner, creditor, seller, debtor for each one. The client is the creditor. The shareholders are the creditors. The beneficiary is the creditor. The ward is the creditor. The client is the creditor. Yeah, I might go to the store. But yeah, that's it. That's what I got for you. I'll go to bed now. December 27th. I got the workshop going on. I'm going to have Jessica with me. She's going to make an appearance at the workshop, give her testimony to her experience. So, if you're in New York, you know what I mean, pull up. I'll say it to you.
This is about Neil. This is about his fans.
We gotta get him clapping. Look up Cherry Cherry.
I wouldn't even
Investment advisor who has a fiduciary duty to their client.
Yeah, this is it though. I'm done with you though. So I'm just going back. I'm finished.
Examples of people with fiduciary duties include an attorney who owes a duty to their client, a director who has a fiduciary duty to shareholders, a trustee who has an obligation to the trust's beneficiary, a guardian.
That's really it right there. Those three. And then you know what I say, G. Again, owner instead of principal. And then every other title is just creditor. And see, they're trying to wear multiple hats. And then one of them, like investment advisor, they try to they play around in murky water with. You know, even the politicians, right? Public service is a public trust, right? Trustees. Yeah, all right. That's it for me. I appreciate you tapping in. Fiduciary duty, napkin finance. It's on YouTube. Telling you what happens if somebody breaches their duty. Owe you the duty of loyalty. Everybody from the attorney to the trustee to the guardian ad litem to the investment advisor owes you a duty of loyalty. So, enforce your authority. Honoramus matras nostras. Fiduciary law is it. Love be with you.